to be a man? Does every guy go through a DJing stage? Is that part of the like handbook where it's like you must become a DJ?
Uh,
I started taking it seriously because it got more challenging and I had to. At the time that I what how I define misogyny and how I experienced it, I applied for a scholarship at my old university. And then I was talking to one of the professors who was on the board, and I was like, "Oh, so did you decide like what's going on?" And he's like, "I tried for you to get the scholarship, but they didn't, they dismissed your application and they only looked at the male applicants. Like no girl was considered." And I was like, "That happens? That's a real thing." And it was how unfiltered did these people go? Because, well, when I had first heard opera singers, I didn't like it very much. But if you're just doing, you're modernizing these operas to be woke and it's kind of performative and not in the sense of like we're performing this opera, but it's very like, look at us, we're trendy. That's what I don't like. But that's a very common question. And especially as I've gotten older, that's something that's crossed my mind where it's like, how am I gonna, that's what you'll title the episode. You'll be like,
yeah,
better than her.
yeah. It's She's So Insensitive, You'll Be Amazed. That would be the title.
Interviewed an opera soprano goes horribly I think so. And it's
Yeah.
also, it's not just people who have like positions of power. It could also be like your colleague. So you gotta be wary of that. Like, just because you're playing love interest on stage does not mean that you can just like grab my hand whenever you want. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
So you
It
shouldn't,
can,
you shouldn't sacrifice your like inner peace to make a director, like a colleague, more comfortable because why? They're not doing that for you, so you have to do that for you, you know?
yeah.
You actually answered my question kind of inadvertently. Um, because when you walk into an audition, you might have a rough idea of what they're looking for, but you have no idea what they're looking for.
This. Why are you interviewing me?
It's just a question.
Bad Sophie.
Perhaps, Dad.
Okay.
Ah, I just hit my bee sting.
Okay.
Darn it. Bad
Okay.
Sophie.
I didn't use. Hey everyone, this is Abhi from No-Budget Filmmaking Podcast, and here with me is my wonderful friend and co-worker Sophia. Hi, Sophia.
Hi. How's it going?
Uh, Good.
Sure. Hi, I'm Sophia. I also go by Sophie. Um, I am a vocalist. I'm an opera singer. I also teach voice and basic piano. What else do I do? I graduated from CSUN about a year and a half ago with my master's. Finally, that's done. No more school.
Yeah.
Um, I like long walks on the beach. I have a dog.
Yeah.
What else can I say about myself? I mean, that's the main thing. But
Yeah. Yeah. It sounded like a dating intro, so if you want to throw in your dating preferences, it would be fine.
uh,
Tall.
tall, yeah, darn it. Tall, blue eyes,
Okay.
finance, blonde.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Okay.
but
I'm gonna
yeah,
edit that
that's
part out. I don't think a lot of people will relate to that.
oh man, the tall finance blonde.
Yeah. Six
I think it's
five, blue
funny.
eyes.
Yeah, I'm quoting the TikTok. People, your audience is hip. They'll get it. They'll be like, she's funny. You should have
Yeah.
her on again.
Okay. Okay. I made a remix of that on a side note. Someone made a remix on that song, like 6 foot finance, 6'5"
Yeah,
blue eyes. Yeah.
yeah.
I played it in one of my gigs, so that was funny.
Oh, that's really funny. That's awesome.
Yeah. I also played like the SpongeBob intro song. In the end, funny enough. Okay.
I have a friend who's a gigging musician, or friend, colleague,
Yeah.
and he plays the Home Depot like theme as he's
Oh,
walking out. You
yeah.
know, in the commercials, and I was like, that's really cool. That I like that. I wish I had thought of that. If I
Yeah.
wasn't an opera singer, but like a band musician, I'd do something like that. I thought that that was funny. I
Yeah.
know that you're interviewing me, but I have one question for you.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
serious.
Hmm.
Um, is it like to be a man? Does every guy go through a DJing stage? Is that part of the like handbook where it's like you must become a DJ?
Uh, okay. Yes and no. I think it's one of
Okay.
the things that when I was just starting as a DJ, I
Hmm.
put it on the LA and Santa Monica subreddit that where how can I find gigs? And one of the
Okay.
comments said, everyone here is a DJ, so you will not find it. You will find it hard to get a DJ. Be a
Sure.
DJ, there's that. And my
Uh-huh.
motivation to be a DJ was that me and my coworker, he moved to Boston, right? Not coworker,
Hmm.
my colleague, my friend. He moved to
Hmm.
Boston, and we for 6 months on his last semester, we literally went to each and every club we could find. And for this 6 months, and I went to some really good DJ. I get to hear a really good DJ and some of dog shit ones. So I was like, I
Uh-huh.
can do better than that. So that was the whole motivation of
Mm.
me starting. So
That's very no, I have respect for DJs. I just think it's funny that I have a couple other male friends who are like, yeah, we're getting into DJing. I'm like, did you guys read the same book?
no,
How did
maybe.
how did this happen?
So how do you got into all the whole singing and everything?
Well, I started when I was really little. My parents sent me to I'm from Santa Barbara, and so they sent me to a
Rich.
singing camp here in town. And my parents are software engineers, so they didn't think that I'd like get into music or anything. It was just kind of to pass the summer. And so we had a performance at the end of this week or 2 weeks or whatever. And I go up to the mic and I'm just singing and like I'm in tune, which is hard for some people. And so there's a video, and on the video, my mom's like, "Oh my gosh, like she can sing?" Question mark. And so that kind of started my little musical journey. Um, I took singing lessons, and then I did piano for a little bit. And actually, side note, funny thing, um, Costco was having a sale on pianos. So my dad walks up to the sales associate and was like, "Hey, so how do you think this is a good instrument for a 3 month old?" And the guy's like, "I thought you were gonna say like 3 years. Like that's reasonable." And he's like, "No, 3 months." And so I like hit the keys or whatever. I mean, it was on sale, so like can't be too mad. I still have the piano, but I think that that's really funny that my dad decided to get this piano and I was like way too little to play it. Um, but yeah, so did that camp, did piano lessons when I was about 5. Does not mean that I'm good at it now. I took a break for a little bit because school, homework and math is hard for some people. So I focused on school. And then when I was 16 or so, my parents found a really good voice teacher here in town. And she kind of set me up on this classical opera journey that I'm on now. If it wasn't for her, I think I'd be doing Broadway. Um, and actually, another pivot, there's the Santa Barbara Master Chorale, which I recently joined. And this woman auditioned, and turns out that she's a voice teacher. And she's actually the one who recommended the voice teacher that I got when I was 16 because my dad had emailed her and she was too busy. So she's like, "Hey, you should like look at this teacher." And so I was like, "That's crazy." And I like introduced myself. I was like, "This is what happened." And I am so grateful that she recommended the voice teacher that I got because I feel like my life would be very different. Because could you, if she had been a little more like selfish, I suppose, she could have been like, my schedule will clear up in a couple months, like just wait for me, or oh, I don't know anyone here in town. But she didn't do that. And so I was like, thank you very much for doing that because through my voice teacher, I discovered a UCLA professor who I really like, and I feel like he's the one who's really like discovered my voice. So
Okay, so what
That's how I got into singing.
yeah, that's how you got into singing, and that's a really cool story. However, when did you start taking it seriously? Like seriously? Okay.
Depends on who you ask because for some if you ask my parents, I'm sure they'd say that I only started taking it seriously yesterday.
Hmm.
Um, but I joke. Um, so I started like classical lessons once a week when I was 16. And I would practice, but I didn't take it like super seriously. I knew that I wanted to go into music as I was taking the lessons, but I was like, I wasn't completely sold on the whole practice and the whole like um opera thing. So I was like doing it. And high school's tricky. Like I was doing a whole bunch of extracurriculars. But then I went to Santa Barbara City College, and I started taking voice lessons there. And I started developing, and as everything got like harder and harder, I had to start like practicing more and more. And so that's when still even then, like freshman, sophomore year, it was still like a little iffy on how seriously I was taking specifically voice lessons because music came very naturally to me, so I wouldn't have to like put in a whole lot of effort to get like a result. Um, so I would say definitely by junior year of college, I really started like this is when I transferred to CSUN. Um, and I got my voice teacher and I liked my repertoire that I was given. And so that's when I really started taking it seriously.
Mm.
That's a good question. I started taking it seriously because it got more challenging and I had to. So if the rep was easy, I'd be kind of at that same level. Why fix if it ain't broke, you know? Um, but actually for me, the real thing that really made me take things seriously was when I got into grad school, like slightly before that, I reached out to this UCLA professor. Um, And he heard something different in my voice that other teachers, I think, had missed or didn't have time to really explore. And so, as we started kind of delving into that, I got more interested in developing my voice. So, when my practice got a little bit easier, I wanted to practice more. Because before, I would feel kind of unmotivated. I'd be like, I don't really this rep is okay. I have to practice a little bit to kind of get it into my voice and different languages and whatnot. But it wasn't, it didn't feel like it was meant for me, you know? And I didn't get any roles in the operas either. So I was like, clearly something isn't really working. And I wasn't quite sure what it was. And then I found my UCLA teacher. And I was like, oh, my technique was a little off. And so that kind of got me on the journey
Okay,
to taking it more seriously.
so why didn't you get a program in UCLA instead, but you went to CSUN?
Um, so my senior year of high school, I actually applied to UCLA and I didn't get in.
Oh.
So that was kind of a non-starter for why I wasn't there. Um, but I also auditioned for UCSB and I got in there, which would have been interesting. Still not with the teacher that I would have wanted, but I didn't go there because I didn't actually get into the school, which I didn't realize was a thing that could happen. I had good grades in high school. I was shocked and I appealed and I still didn't get into UCSB. So when I'm famous and that they'll check their records and they'll be like, "Oh, she tried to get into our music
Yeah,
department." I'll
yeah,
be like,
yeah.
"Sorry,
The
you didn't pick me."
yeah, that'll show him.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah, you can
exactly.
go all pretty woman on him. Big mistake.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be like, "Huge mistake." Yeah,
Yeah,
huge.
huge. Yeah. So, okay, I have talked to like a bunch of people, if you don't know, from CSUN, and I have heard various like degrees of things from them about
Yes.
the music program in CSUN. So I would love to hear your take. What was it like to you for you?
How unfiltered did these people go?
So,
Because
yeah, you can say
okay,
anything. It depends
okay,
on
okay.
me if I want to put it in or not.
Right, right, right. Well, I feel like everyone has a different experience, so just because I experienced something one way doesn't necessarily mean that another soprano will have the same exact experience. Um, Honestly, I didn't have the best time when I was there. Um, with my first voice teacher, because I actually ended up switching between teachers during my undergrad. Um, she was there physically, like she never canceled any lessons, like she showed up on time, she stayed the exact time that she was needed. Um, but I didn't feel supported by her. Like I would come into lessons and I might not be as prepared. But I learned music quickly, so she'd be like, "Oh, you're fine. You're gonna learn it. You're great." Which was kind of like a double-edged sword because it enabled me to like put off learning my music until the last minute, but it would be fine because I could learn it quickly, but that's not exactly the right skill. Um, she also didn't have any grad students in her studio, which to me, if I was to give another music student advice, like look at your teacher's students and see like how they sing, what they're singing, and if they have any grad students. And that should be a good indicator of whether you should join their studio or not. And for me, since I joined her studio during the pandemic, so all of my lessons with her for the first year were over Zoom. So when I didn't like something or I felt like something was off, I'd blame it on Zoom because it's hard to gauge um, a person's personality fully on Zoom. So, although the thing that did stick out to me, I asked her, I was like, so what opportunities are there, like around CSUN in LA since I'm not from there? And she'd be like, oh, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Like you teach at a university that's in the valley, kind of in the heart of LA. You at least have more connections than I do at this given moment. So like, can you help me? And then with my second teacher, she was a lot more positive. I felt like she cared, but then when I would leave the room, like my lesson would be done, it's kind of like I didn't exist at all. And definitely my last semester at CSUN wasn't stellar because I got added to the opera kind of last minute because someone else dropped, and it was a contemporary Spanish opera. So normally if it's Mozart, it's kind of easy to like hear your melody and someone in the orchestra is also playing your melody lines. So even if you're not sure, you kind of listen and you're fine. But with this, there was kind of nothing to hold on to. And so I'm doing my best. Uh, and I'm also doing my thesis and I'm also doing my master's recital. So it was just a whole lot of stuff. And everyone was stressed. And I felt like unsupported, I guess. And this was the first role that I was doing too. So when I approached the music director of the opera, I was like, hey, do you have any suggestions on how to learn this role? Or just in general, since everyone has had like about 2 months to learn this, and I'm jumping into this kind of cold. And she went, well, you're a grad student, so you should know how to do this. And I was like, well, if I knew, one, I wouldn't be at CSUN, and two, like
Yeah.
I wouldn't be asking you. So my experience had good parts, but it had a lot of moments like that where I was like, I'm paying tuition so that you can teach me how to do this so I don't not embarrass myself later, but so that I have tips and tricks for when I'm a professional. You know what I mean? And so I
Yeah.
didn't like the um, weirdly competitive and um, yeah, weirdly competitive atmosphere for no reason. Like we should all be kind of together and it should be we should try and produce like high quality stuff. I'm not saying, oh, well, just because it's a college doesn't mean that you shouldn't try, you know? But in certain moments it was like we were at the Met and we were expected to be perfect right off the bat, you know what I mean? But we're not a professional company, we're a bunch of students, so you should kind of take off some of that extra stress, you know?
Yeah, so what I'm hearing, and if I have to summarize, is that first of all, the teachers were there, but they were not as supportive as they should be, especially for a performance major. I'm assuming your major was performing arts, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, vocal
perfect.
performance.
And secondly, you were thrown right away without much proper. You have been loaded with a lot of expectations right off
Hmm.
the bat. And third, they will just leave you on your own, even though you shouldn't be. Technically, that's why they are there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, to a certain degree, I feel like learning a single piece, even if it's like very long, is different than learning a role. So although I had those skills, I feel like it would have been helpful if like my voice teacher would have said like, "Oh, when I did this role, this is what I did," you know? So a little more structure than just, "Oh, let's practice this one page," you know? So, and I guess this is more I don't think this is just a CSUN issue. Like I'm not I'm not gonna
Mhm.
destroy CSUN. I think a lot of music departments have like big problems with big egos, both on the student side and the like professor side. And also being a music department in a university is hard because the budget is always being cut, but that's a whole different issue. So it was just when I had imagined going to music school, that wasn't exactly what I had pictured. So I was kind of disappointed in general.
Mhm.
Um, but what could have helped is if the personalities of specifically my voice teachers was different. Um, I think I would have liked it more. So, and there's nothing really I can do about that. They're there, they have qualifications, they're great in their own regard. Just I think I had different expectations of what I would have wanted.
Yeah.
So I think it's more me than them.
Uh, that's really good of you to not put all the blame on them. But
Tangent. Yeah.
Lollipop said almost the same thing, but she had to deal with a lot because she was in band practice, something like that,
Yeah.
and it was really male dominated. So she had to deal with
Yeah.
a lot of biases against her. And she said, I'm still editing her episode, so I know
Hmm.
it pretty by my heart because I listened to it 20
Yeah.
times. It's like
Yeah.
a lot of teachers actually encourage bullying among them, which was really bad, and they all actively
Whoa.
discouraged a lot of girl students mainly to not to switch majors. So trust me, it could have been worse for you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, that's an interesting point, and I'm not um what's it called? Not devaluing. I'm not saying that that didn't happen. I totally believe it.
Mm,
But I've had people ask, like, have I personally ever experienced like misogyny or being discouraged from doing what I want?
mm,
I feel like a lot of the times, if I want something, I don't really care. So a lot of the times I don't really even notice. So it could have been happening. Like some teacher could have said to my face, like, you should switch majors. And I wouldn't. I'd be like, okay, that's just your opinion. So I'm not discrediting um, her
experience.
experience. Yeah, exactly. I'm not, I totally believe that that could have, um, edit this part out because I'm thinking of how to say it, but I'd be interested if I can go back in time and like watch my classes and see if I could pick up on more of the like subtext if it really was there in the small part of CSUN that like I experienced, you know what I mean?
Mm,
Because
I
a lot
get
of the
it.
times when I have um when I have an issue with like a male teacher or a male colleague, I don't interpret it as misogyny. I think, oh, that person's just weird. So that isn't my first thought. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm. And it also depends. It's not 100% sure that that was their intention. Some of them can be
Yeah,
assholes
yeah,
because
exactly.
Adrian and Matthew both had some similar experience with some of the toxicity. And I'm
Yeah,
really interested about this topic, honestly, because I dealt with people, but my major was more technical side, and
yeah.
I had roommates who were in movies and everything.
Hmm.
Literally my roommate was Nestor Vinelli. If you don't know, he's my really good friend. He's an actor, stunt guy, and everything. I helped him out. I didn't see it much in movie industry, but from music, I'm hearing they're saying that okay, it's a really toxic, it's a man eat man world, and everyone has these huge egos for no reason at all. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense.
It's definitely the I resonate more with the ego thing
Hmm.
than for me personally than the misogynistic side. I can see um maybe slight like dismissal, but again, to me, I would attribute it to more like that person just is small-minded, than oh, he said that because I'm a girl.
Hmm.
Um, the only times that I actually experienced, I mean, again, I'm not discrediting what Lollipop said. I absolutely believe her. But the time that how I define misogyny and how I experienced it, I applied for a scholarship at my old university. And then I was talking to one of the professors who was on the board, and I was like, "Oh, so did you decide like what's going on?" And he's like, I tried for you to get the scholarship, but they dismissed your application and they only looked at the male applicants. Like no girl was considered. And I was like, that happens. That's a real thing. And it was a cool scholarship because it was a transfer scholarship. So my old university could have covered like half of my tuition for my first year because the CSUN's pretty like inexpensive and that scholarship was really good. So I was pretty mad about that, where I was like, that's bad. That's not
Oh,
good. This
oh,
was like 2020. So
oh,
hopefully they've improved in the past 5 years. But
uh,
yeah, something because Lollipop did did band, and so I can see a lot of the those tendencies. I don't know why guys are like that. It's silly. We're
hey.
just here to make music. No, we're just here to make music. Why does it have to be like, oh, she's a girl and she's playing percussion or she's doing this? It's like, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. Personally,
They were just
okay.
threatened.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows? It's always the insecurity talking because
Yeah,
uh yeah, I've seen a lot of this going around because a lot of things like when okay, is it just me? It is off topic a little bit. Is it just me or
sure.
like anything that is woman centric is really expensive than men's? Even
Yes,
clothes?
yes, that's very true. The pink tax.
Really?
Awful. Yeah, 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 yeah. So a lot of women I know buy men's razors. One, because they're better. They have more blades, so you can like get a closer shave.
Mm,
And two, they're less expensive. Although now some companies are kind of catching on that girls are using the guys' razors, so they're like bumping up the price a little bit. But it's
mm.
yeah, it's awful. If you go to Target and you look at the razors, the men's and women's razors, you'll see the price difference, and it's like they're razors. Like, why is
Okay.
it such a big deal?
Yeah, same thing. And what's going on with your pockets? My ex-girlfriend, I'm saying it right now, but
Mhm.
when she got into my jeans, she wore my jeans as a joke, and she was like, "I can
Oh,
fit
sure.
everything in here. I don't need a purse." And I'm like,
Okay, my thing about that, all almost all of the jeans that I own have good pockets in them, so I don't relate as much
"Hmm,
to the like, oh, my pockets are too small. I have one pair that's like that where they're like really, really low, but they're also really skinny jeans, so I wouldn't want to put anything in those pockets anyway. But
Mhm.
yeah, the pockets could be bigger.
Mm, interesting. Hmm. Okay. It is what it is. I don't know what to say. I didn't
Yeah,
make those
sure.
companies. I didn't
Yeah.
decide those
It's all your
products.
fault.
Yeah, I'm part of the patriarchy.
You're
Yay.
part of the problem.
Yeah, I'm good. I like my privilege. I don't have to think about my safety anywhere I go. That was
Yeah.
fun. Yeah,
Hmm.
that was really fun. And again, and one more thing, one interesting thing, when there's a name change and the last name
Yeah.
change, there's a lot of paperwork issue with you
Oh
guys.
yeah.
Haha.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, so I'm
If
good.
would you would you want your future wife to change her name or would you let her keep her?
It again, it's not my last name, it's her choice. I will be happy either
Okay.
way. As long as she
Okay.
says yes and willing to put up with me, that's good enough for me.
Oh, that's very sweet, actually.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is fine because I will not, again, I like my freedom and I don't want someone else to take it from me.
Hmm.
So I don't want
Totally.
that to be someone else. I don't, again, obviously that's what we're talking about is why are you interviewing me?
It's just a question.
Bad Sophie.
Perhaps, God.
Okay.
Ah, I just hit my bee stick.
Okay.
Darn it. Bad
Okay.
Sophie.
Yeah, it's if just to answer your question quickly, it's more like
Yeah.
uh how to say it. It's more in a way that um okay, when we are together, you do have to make some decisions together, like
Yeah. Totally.
finances and other decision, children, yada yada. I'm fine with
Sure.
that. But there's
Yeah.
some needs to be some independence. I don't want to be taught to like you have to do this and that.
Okay.
So I will not do that to anyone else.
That makes sense. I respect that.
Yeah. What about you? You're a dictator?
Why? Just because I'm Russian, you think I'm a dictator?
I
Um,
didn't know you were Russian.
yeah, I'm Russian.
Oh, both your
Um,
parents are?
yes. Hmm.
Oh, they
Yeah,
must
they
be rich
moved.
oligarchs. That's why you're living in a such rich neighborhood.
Well,
Okay.
you don't know. No, kidding. I'm kidding. No, no, no. They're software engineers, not oligarchs. But maybe one day.
Yeah.
Um, no, I wouldn't say that I'm a dictator. No, no, no. I mean, I have
Okay.
certain like, standards, but I want, and this is just across the board, like friendships, relationships, like
Hmm.
I want you to do what comes naturally to you, and if it doesn't align what comes naturally to me, then we're not meant to be together. Do you know what I mean? Of
Yeah.
course, there's like communication there. It shouldn't be like you have to guess all the time what I'm thinking, but if you're like I'm never gonna pay for you, but that's something that I would like, like pay for dinner, um, then we're not. I like why I'm not gonna force you. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, but it's a small thing. One thing I really communication should be there most of the time, almost all the
Yeah,
time. I don't think over
yeah.
communication is a thing, even though people try to make it that way.
A thing. Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, but again, your boundaries are your boundaries, and how would I know, or how would anyone know what your boundaries are? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Wait, how was the environment
sure.
with your colleagues in the school? Was it again toxic, like the common theme I'm hearing from all the musicians, or was it some
Um,
support?
I found little pockets of support here and there. Um, but that support I think was outside of the opera department. Because it kind of makes sense because we're all kind of, or not kind of, we all want the same role. So there was some competition and there was a little bit of like, why did she get that role? It should be me. But again, that's across the whole department. I mean, and any school I feel like would have that. And I think that it actually depends on the administration, so the professors and everyone to create an environment that's a healthy kind of competitive and not whatever was happening at CSUN. I can go into more details, but since we have the
Hmm.
the 2 minutes, um,
No, we can
Yeah, there were
continue it afterwards, so don't worry about it.
um so yeah, there were some moments of like, oh, okay, friendship, but I feel like I found friends after I graduated and I found that support there, not so much when I was in the department, I would say. Not to people are watching, they're like, I thought we had a real connection while you were there. That's not what I mean. The connections that I really felt like were genuine were in times of like stress, like really bad situations. And I was kind of like trauma bonding where I was like, oh my God, this is so bad. And we're going through this together that there is no room to be competitive at that point, you know?
Mm,
Um, so so yeah, there were a handful of people where I was like, okay, you're a genuinely good person. I don't feel like you're seeing me as competition. Do you know what I mean? Um,
mm,
but yeah, I would say overall it was pretty like elbows out, so to speak.
Okay, you mentioned in passing previously that if your coach was not there, you would be in a Broadway singer, right?
Yes. Mhm.
So, can you go a little bit deep on that and what's the difference between opera and just singing Broadway? Again, ignorant here, so I don't know much about it.
Darn, I was hoping you'd know. I thought you could teach me. No, well, opera and Broadway are like two different styles of singing. They're kind of like parallel streets. You know how in the valley, as I said, parallel streets, car like screeched. Anyway, it's like parallel streets where you're singing and you're using all of the same muscles,
Mm,
your vocal cords and your diaphragm, which is that muscle that's below your rib cage. It's actually the muscle that when you hiccup, that's the muscle that's spasming that causes the hiccup in the first place. Um, but it's like two different types of placement. So how like where your voice sounds and where it's resonating. For Broadway, it's very like kind of in your nose and it's belting. In opera, it's darker. It's typically in other languages. Um, and with an orchestra instead of a band. So it's slightly different sound and texture and color between the two.
okay, so what would be okay, first question, how does your vocal coach influence you to go more into opera? Because was it the Broadway singing that you wanted to do at first, or was it like,
Um, well, when I had first heard opera singers, I didn't like it very much. It's called the like opera wobble, where it's like ah, it's like
mm,
very like ugh.
mm,
Um, it's kind of fluctuating between these two notes, and it creates that "Wah," and I thought that everyone had to sound like that, and I was like, I don't like that. That doesn't sound good to my ears.
mm,
Um, versus Broadway, which like everyone's kind of singing it. It's just simple. Not simple, but like easy to listen to. And it feels like, oh, I could just kind of like hop on the stage and just kind of do it. Um, which no, I'm not saying that Broadway is like easy by any means. You have to have training, you have to know how to belt correctly and how to like have good vocal health. So it's also a little misleading. But um, as I've studied opera more, I realized that that opera wobble isn't really supposed to be there necessarily. That can be a sign of poor vocal technique or not supporting correctly. So I almost forgot the question. What was the question again?
so your vocal coach, so that's how, did she not influence you, or she was just like, she was just teaching you about everything and you just fell in love with opera?
Oh, I see. Yeah. Because my teacher was classically trained, that's how she would teach her students. So she could teach Broadway if a student wanted to learn a specific thing, but her master degree is in opera performance from UCLA, and so that's how she taught. So.
Hmm. Interesting. Interesting.
And she also, actually, funny story about my teacher. She had a career in Europe for a little bit, and then she didn't really like the atmosphere, the competitive atmosphere. And so she moved back to Santa Barbara, and that's when she started teaching, and that's when we met. Um, but now she's actually a nun, a Buddhist nun in Myanmar, and she's shaved her hair and she has the nun robes, and she doesn't sing at all anymore, which is really sad because she had such a beautiful mezzo soprano. So there's soprano and mezzo soprano, which is just a little lower. She had
Lower
such
in
a
tone?
beautiful, huh?
Uh,
Yes, lower in. Oh, well, this is a whole other topic. So there's the Fach system, which is like all the different voice types. And it's about, yes, what notes you can sing, like your range, but it's also about where your voice sounds. So you could have a soprano or a mezzo soprano that can sing really high notes like a soprano, but you really hear the voice resonate or really sound on those lower kind of like heavier notes. And that's how you know what voice type someone typically is. And it's hard to, um, a lot of teachers are kind of steering away from giving a specific voice type to a younger student because your voice can change so much. And especially like in women, um, our voice settles a little bit later than men. And there are also different registers. So there's the like high register, there's a chest register, and then there's the like lower register. Men have like two registers, while women, or let me say that differently. Men, um, there's something called a break when you switch between the two, and it's a slightly different technique depending on if you're singing lower or higher. So men have one break typically, but women have two when they're singing lower and then their middle and then their upper. And so that also kind of influences the voice's development. So anyway, my teacher was a mezzo soprano, and I heard a recording of her, and she sounded incredible, like so, so good. And I remember what aria she was singing. It was from The Barber of Seville. It's called Una voce poco fa, which is like the voice I just heard. Um, and she sounded so good, and she was just singing so effortlessly, and her vibrato, the like there's straight tone when it's just ah, and then there's ah, and it has that little like um
Vibrato?
vibrato. Yeah, it
Yeah.
has that little bounce to it. I don't want to
Mhm.
say wobble because that seems big, but when it's very like um bouncy, and she it was just so effortless and beautiful that I was like, I want to sound like her. And so maybe I should do this opera thing. But she's a mezzo and I'm a soprano, so we're two different voice types, but she could sing just as high as me, which I'm a little salty about, but it's
What's the
um
difference between soprano and what's the other one you just said?
mezzo
Mezzo.
soprano.
Yeah.
Mezzos s- can sing lower and their voice sounds a little fuller and better on those lower notes. Sopranos can also sing low, but it's not going to carry as far and it's going to sound a little different. So it's like there are different types of saxophones. Like there's soprano sax, which is like way up there, and then there's alto, which is lower. So it's just and interestingly enough, between so there are those four like main types, the soprano, mezzo soprano, alto, like tenor, bass. And actually alto and mezzo soprano can sometimes be interchangeable, but soprano, mezzo soprano, tenor, and bass. And there are subcategories within that. And the reason for that is there's different types of pieces and different types of, and when I say pieces, I mean like songs. Um, there's different type of music, and each type of music has different like specifications. Like there's some music that needs really high or like really big voices. And for a long time before they made those specifications, one soprano would be singing all of these different types of sounds, I guess. And even though the notes are the same, the expectation, like you'd need a bigger voice to sing this. So a lot of sopranos would like lose their voice because they were singing stuff that they weren't really meant to sing, because they would start pushing their voice so much it wouldn't be right. So it's kind of like bodybuilders at the gym, because
Mm,
the vocal cords are muscles, right? They're coming together and they're working together,
mm,
just like muscles in your arm.
mm,
So we all have our kind of limit to how much we can bulk up, you know? So it's kind of like asking someone, okay, well keep bulking, keep going, like keep stretching
mm,
those muscles, but you've already kind of pushed yourself to the limit.
mm,
So now there's different classifications within the type of soprano or mezzo or tenor that you are, which kind of determines the rep that you typically will sing so that you don't hurt your voice. And it
mm,
doesn't mean you could never sing this. It just means that you have to be careful. So,
mm. That makes sense. Uh, Apart from that, are there any theatrics involved when you're doing that? When you're
of course.
performing opera?
Um, yeah, well, opera is very dramatic. I feel like a certain type of person is drawn to opera. Don't make any don't make any assumptions on me based off of that statement. But
Too late.
no, no.
Yeah.
So yeah, but of course there are theatrics, because it's like some operas are like very happy and over the top and like meh, and then most operas are like the soprano dies at the end because she had tuberculosis, or she was murdered. So yeah, I'd say that opera is very theatrical.
Hmm. And what I'm getting is there's a story and everything, and you're just representing it through
Yeah,
your voice, right?
yeah.
And how much your personality comes into play in that then?
I think a lot of your personality should kind of go through that, because don't tell the instrumentalist this, but I'm always surprised how people can tell, like, oh, this is this person playing piano versus this person playing piano. Like there are some, because it's all the same, you know, they're all tuned the same, but with voice you can articulate something a little differently. We all have our own timbre. Like me singing something is going to sound different than like Lollipop singing something or Matthew singing something. Like it doesn't even matter if they're trained, we all have different voices. And I know that instrumentalists can also articulate things differently, but if they're meant to play something like true to the period, they're all going to sound very, very similar. And at least to me, because I'm not an instrumentalist, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between like Steve playing it or some like Carnegie Hall, uh, if they're playing it the exact same way. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
I think well, you can still put your own interpretation, like some conductors. Um, I'm trying to think of a second. So I'll use the conductor for the Santa Barbara Symphony as an example. Like his interpretation of about of I almost combined Beethoven and Mozart in one word. I was going to
Hmm.
say Mozart. It's not right.
Okay. You can say it. There must be a guy named that. Borat. No, that's Borat.
What does Mozart? I hope not. But anyway, the Santa Barbara Symphony conductor, his interpretation will be might be different than like Leonard Bernstein's interpretation. They might take the tempo or like the speed at which they play something differently because they want to elicit a different emotion. So it's all different. And actually, it's funny. This past season, the Santa Barbara Symphony did the Brahms Requiem, so the composer Brahms. His Requiem, and is pretty short. And it's in German, which is unique because typically a requiem is in Latin because it's religious. Um, and so the conductor of the Santa Barbara Symphony decided to add some Mahler pieces in between the movements, so between the sections of the requiem. And then I can send you the review if you want, but some critic from one of the newspapers was like, I can't believe that he did that. Like, he totally messed up the flow of the Requiem. It's supposed to go from one movement to another. Instead, he added this other composer and blah, blah, blah. It didn't make any sense. Um, but I thought it made sense because the pieces were in German. They all like flowed together. This Requiem is it's like you feel listening to the Brahms Requiem versus like the Mozart Requiem, the feelings are very different. So I saw the vision. I liked that it was different. Um, because it wasn't sometimes opera companies or symphonies have the tendency to do something different because they want to be different, you know? But this made sense to me. It was like, okay, it's different, it's unique, it's thought out. And of course, anyone can have like their own opinion. I'm not saying that I'm right in my interpretation, but I feel like if you're doing something because you're passionate and you thought about it, and that's the reason you're doing it differently versus, oh, we should do the opera Carmen in space, set in space because we just want to be quirky like that. I don't like that.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. Maybe you will like it. Maybe I'll like it. I don't know.
Maybe.
So I guess okay, so that brings a new question. Like, are you more of a like traditionalist, or you like some orthodoxy or some not orthodoxy, like some experimentation with the same symphony?
I'm both. I'm both. I think um, that's one thing I was a little bummed about while I was at CSUN, that we didn't do just a traditional opera
Hmm.
because it made sense. The first opera I did was Street Scene, Kurt Weill, and we were just getting out of the pandemic, so we were outside. So that was a little tricky. And funny enough, one of the opening arias is called like Ain't It Awful the Heat? And it's November, it's freezing. So we're singing Ain't It Awful the Heat? And you can see our breath because it's so cold.
Okay.
Um, so that wasn't really traditional because it was outside. Um, then we did The Child and the Spells by Ravel, which was cool, but we did that. Oh, wait, or did we do that before? We did that before. So before we were in person, we did a Zoom opera. So we would hop on Zoom and we would practice we recorded our scenes, like the music ahead of time. So we would lip sync to ourselves during the Zoom meeting. And we would use Snapchat filters as our costumes and backdrops, which was pretty cool. And typically, the plot of the opera is a child is misbehaving, so his mom sends him to his room, and he destroys his whole room. And then the objects in his room start talking to him and teach him the lesson of like, don't misbehave. So the modern twist that we did since we were over Zoom was a college student going to Zoom class, drinks a bunch of Red Bull and starts being naughty, and the
Okay.
professor kicks her out of the Zoom. And she's like, darn it, I really needed that class. And then she starts hallucinating like all of the different stuff in her room. And then she realizes, like, oh, I should go to class.
Okay.
So, so I like when things are done in a creative way like that. Um, I like the reasoning behind it. Like it made sense. We still produced an opera.
Hmm.
We use Snapchat filters, so like stuff like that, that was cool and it made sense. But if you're just doing you're modernizing these operas to be woke, and it's kind of performative, and not in the sense of like we're performing this opera, but it's very like look at us, we're trendy. That's what I don't like. Yeah, I think it's if someone does their research, like um with the contemporary Spanish opera that I did my last semester at CSUN, the plot of this opera was about women being killed in Mexico um, for like standing up for what they believe in. So it's already a very dark topic. And the director decided to add in some other things that were going on at the time. So um, like the conflict in Israel and Palestine and Russia and Ukraine. And he changed the Spanish dialogue into English, and it wasn't an exact translation. And so a lot of people felt like it took away from the actual message of the opera because it was already very like dark and because all of the characters in the opera, there are only six characters, and three of them are like alive versions of these women, and then the three others are like the dead versions. And so they're kind of telling this story kind of back and forth of like, this is how she was when she was alive, and this is her now, you know? So already very like triggering. So the fact that he did that, a lot of people were pretty upset because it took away from these women. And the funny thing was, he would be like, he's like, I support women, and this is what happened, and this is so bad. And I believe him. Like, I believe that he wanted to like be supportive, but in his support, he kind of took away from the point. You know what I mean? And he
Yeah,
also he didn't. It felt like he didn't really do his research, so it became like the message for the sake of a message, but not like the heart. You know what I mean?
yeah, like too many themes, so we don't know which one to
Yeah,
focus.
yeah, exactly.
That brings a good point, and it's for the entertainment industry as of now. Again,
Hmm.
I'm not saying that there are not things happening in the world that are bad and should not happen. And we
Yeah,
should talk about it, and we should talk about it in whatever way we want to. It can be a
yeah,
song, it can be a movie, and whatever. But don't you think it's becoming too much of, as you said, performative?
yeah, yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah, in a way, like there are some movies or operas or anything. Okay, can you name? Okay, what's the classical example of like, okay, this is a message, but it doesn't feel like a message in opera specifically?
Honestly, I think any like traditional opera
Hmm.
is it's because what is opera? It's like a commentary on what was going on at the time, and it kind of digs into a lot of like human emotion. So even if it's not exactly like based on a true story, it digs into something deeper of um like the feelings of loss, or like kind of being powerless, or like a marriage of Figaro, for example. It's a lighter example, but it kind of shows the class dynamics, you know, in kind of a silly way. And even like the Magic Flute by Mozart is also kind of like a meta commentary where you can kind of piece together a little bit some oh, what's the word? It's past my bedtime, and so now I'm like forgetting words. Um, some commentary on like certain elements of society at the time. I took a whole class on this. I'm a little like fuzzy on the specifics, but I thought that that was pretty interesting because I never thought about the magic flute because it's uh silly kind of. I mean, it talks about love, which isn't silly, but it's kind of like happy. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
It's a comedy, so I wouldn't think that that could also have some deeper like subtext, you know?
Yeah, I get it, but again, love is can be really, really silly. So I'm
That's
talking
true.
about experience. But I and one more thing in a way, like comedy. Okay, that's a bit of a sidetrack, but I think comedy gets you can give the most darkest and one of the most important messages via comedy, which is
Yeah.
just interesting to me. So there's that. One more thing I really wanted to talk about is that
Hmm.
okay, so in terms of practicality,
Yeah.
how uh, does it make okay, does opera singers make money to sustain themselves?
Do I have to show you my bank account?
Maybe.
Because if I because if I don't, then I definitely have like $2 million in there.
Oh,
I
you're
joke.
rich.
Uh, Russian oligarch, remember?
Yes.
No, I joke, I joke. But that's a very common question. And especially as I've gotten older, that's something that's crossed my mind where it's like, how am I gonna make money? But I think across the arts, it doesn't really matter what you do. I think in order to survive in this economy, I think you need to be well-rounded. So not only do you need to know how to like perform, but you should know how to teach. Okay, you don't get any students. Then you should know how to like set up the stage, like do some basic lighting stuff, maybe some basic like audio on engineering, some like heck even like ushering, because that takes some skill, you know, you can't just what would Carrie say? He'd say you're not just like a doorstop, a sentient doorstop, you know,
Yeah.
so everything, the more that you know about the industry that you're in and different aspects of it, I think you're better off, except DJs. No, I'm totally kidding. DJs deserve their place too. But
Yeah.
I just wanted
Sorry.
to poke fun. Poke fun.
What?
Nothing, nothing.
Okay. I was just saying
Um,
one thing. I think you're basically saying we should get a second job. You cannot depend your whole livelihood on opera singing.
unless you have a very supportive family or you're like very talented from a very young age and you win a bunch of competitions and you get like immediately signed. Um, but that's pretty rare. A lot of opera singers are older. Um, so you gotta, and I'm not saying, um, get whatever job pays the bills, you know what I mean? But I always feel not bad, but when someone's like, the stereotype is like, oh, I'm waitressing and I'm an actress. Those are two such different things that it's hard to do both. You know, you can't, when a lot of auditions happen during the day, but you have to go and waitress. So it's like, it's tricky, you know? So I always encourage people to just dig a little deeper in their field and find a niche there instead of trying to combine two different, like, things that
Yeah.
are kind of polar opposites of each other.
Yeah, two different worlds. I get it. But for example, if I am starting right now, right?
Mhm.
And I can only make money by engineering, for example, and this is
Sure.
my second job. There's no
Yeah.
correlation. When I deal with numbers here, it's more intuitive and everything. But again, it's not practical to say to people. I'm sorry to say this, but it's not practical to say that find something that in the field and somewhat related to.
Yeah, I don't mean to come across like insensitive or like naive in that regard. Of course, like do whatever works for you. And I'm not saying that it's not possible to
Mm.
like make it in the career, like in the arts industry if you have another job. Um, I'm just saying that from what I've noticed, it's much harder unless you're able to like carve out time where it's like, Monday through Wednesday, I do my engineering stuff, but then Thursday through Sunday, I full send like DJing or auditioning or teaching or whatever it may be. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, that
So
makes sense.
it's unless you have pretty flexible hours with your other job, then being a musician is kind of hard unless you're comfortable like working during the day and then having gigs at night, like a jazz musician.
Hmm. Um, okay, that brings a good question. Like a lot of people, when they go into arts, the first question that people ask is, how are you going to manage your finances?
Hmm.
Because a lot of people will say, just get a second job and do it as a hobby. And a lot of people say that, and I guess feel that, okay, I cannot focus too much because if I'm doing a public service job, I'm already drained, or I'm doing any XYZ job, I'm already drained, and it's not in my heart
Hmm.
to go do something that is, again, it's more intuitive and you have to feel happy to sing happy songs. You cannot be mad
Yeah,
and sing happy.
right. Sure.
So, but it's such a bad place to be, don't you think? It's
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
I need that job that is draining my life, and I need to do this because it's giving me life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's very hard. I think in order to be able to manage your finances, as you said, you need to find jobs in the industry that pay well for kind of short bursts, if that makes sense. So a lot of it's very common as a opera singer to have a church job
hmm,
because they typically pay pretty well and it's consistent. And it's just sometimes some churches have rehearsal like Thursday nights and then service on Sunday, and then you're kind of done.
hmm,
And then let's say you get $200 for that, which is a pretty solid amount like every week if you keep getting rehired. So um, joining some like chorales or choruses in town, that's also a consistent way to get money because they're performing and also the holidays are coming up. So I have my little counter going already. Um, so that's one way to kind of get consistent money within your degree, or not degree, but your performance, I guess, area. Um, but yeah, it's very hard to it's very sad that so many people have to treat like music as a hobby, even though they could be. But also it's a double-edged sword, and I mean I say this jokingly because if everyone who was musically inclined and talented was in the arts, then it would be harder for people like me to find a job. So on one hand, it's like, ah, it really sucks for them, but
yeah,
I say that lovingly.
yeah, better them than me, right?
It's hey, you said it, not me. Don't
No,
cancel me for that.
no, no, no. I'm gonna put it front and center.
That's what you'll title the episode. You'll be like,
Yeah,
better than her.
yeah. It's She's So Insensitive, You'll Be Amazed. That will be the title.
Interviewed an opera soprano goes horribly wrong.
Yeah, something like that, something clickbaity. But yeah, that's good. Okay, one more thing that I usually ask people, and I would love to have your opinion. Like if you meet
Mhm.
someone, assume that I am like 18 years old or 17 or 16, and
Sure.
I'm trying to break into the industry, what your advice would be.
Well, I actually, one of the jobs I had for a long time was tutoring at my old community college. And so that question would come up a lot. It's like, okay, I'm transferring. Like, where should I go? What should I do? Um, I think that the most important thing is you got to do your own research. So just because your friend wants to go to USC, let's say, does not mean that USC is the right school for you, you know? So don't just blindly do things because someone said so. That would be my first advice. Also, you gotta have thick skin, um, and have a little grit. So if someone's like, you, everyone has opinions, especially in singing specifically. Every voice teacher will say, I'm doing it right. I'm the right one. I did my research. I did this. I did that. But I wouldn't say so. I've had pretty good experiences with voice teachers, like in general, except for recently, I had a lesson with this lady who was like a little crazy. That's a slightly different tangent, which I could get into if you want. But um, sh- she thinks that she's doing it right. She thinks that she like created this whole new method all because she went to Juilliard, you know? So don't don't be afraid if something isn't working for you to leave or ask to change teachers or question things. That would be the other advice. That doesn't really help you break into the industry, but those are just some like things right off the right off the bat. Yeah, having grit, like doing your own research, kind of sticking to your guns, but also not being like egotistic about it, like being open-minded as well. Um, there can be some creepy people, so just be aware that if an opportunity is too good to be true, it most likely is, unfortunately. The other thing, like, don't get frustrated if things don't pan out immediately, because a lot of people will be like, yeah, I'll get back to you, and then they disappear. So it happens, like, life gets busy, and especially artists are kind of all over the place all the time. So, like, don't take it personally. As for like making it in the industry, I mean, I'm still working on that, but just being a good person, like being easy to work with, which doesn't mean being like a pushover and being like, sure, I'll stay 2 hours after my call time, no problem. It just means like being polite, like being on time, being respectful, like communicating well. Um, what what else? Yeah, I mean that's a big one. Like just be a good person to work with, and you'll get hired. Um, and to go to network, a lot of networking. Um, and it could be in different like for example, I joined a choir and then I met someone who was working at a chamber orchestra here in town. And so she asked if I had any interest in doing some like backstage, some crew stuff. And I was like, sure, why not? I don't have anything else to do. And so then they recently hired me as their operations manager, which is pretty fun. So now I get to do more front of house stuff, not ushering, but like training the ushers and making sure the venue looks nice and just making everything like kind of the middle person between the patrons and management, I suppose. Um, so that could be a good way to network as well because you get to work with different artists and different patrons and emphasis on the patrons because if they already like coming to shows and then you talk to them and you make a connection, then they could be like, "Oh, you sing? Like I'd like to hire you to sing at my wedding." Or something like that hasn't happened yet, but I'm manifesting. So don't be afraid to like try new things, I guess. Those would be my immediate thoughts.
Hmm. Uh, One question that I forgot the question. Never mind. Any apart from that, any future projects that you want to mention here? And I would obviously, with your consent, obviously, I will share whatever profile or links you want to be shared in the description of the
Sure.
video.
Currently, projects, I don't have anything at this moment. I'm auditioning for some stuff, but it's not anything like Nothing set in stone
Hmm.
yet. So if anyone wants to hire me, I'm here. I'm
Yeah.
ready. Um, but I mean, I hope to, I guess I could talk about my aspirations. Like, I'd
Hmm.
love to audition for an opera company and then tour a little bit and just get to see more of the world while I'm performing. Um, and then I also really want to teach and open up my own studio and do that as a full-time thing. But I think in order to do that, I want to have my own career first so I could give more advice, you know, instead of just vaguely like, oh, I think you should network and I think you should do this, but I'll have more like specific things that I did to kind of uh, make it. So that would be my professional aspirations. I have some other like personal ones, but what was the other half of the question? Any like links?
Yes, do you like me, if you like, I can tag in your do you
Instagram?
have multiple Instagrams or no?
I just have my music one. The other one is my personal one, which meh, is not that interesting. But my music one, feel free to post it.
Okay, absolutely. Oh yeah, I just remember what question I wanted to go deep into, and
Hmm.
only if you're comfortable. When you mention
Sure.
creeps in a way, what does that mean? I know.
Um, I mean, I haven't had any like very like traumatic or negative experiences, but I know some people have different variations of um uh, like casting directors hitting on them or like professors or audience members. So you just have to be wary of like just be safe.
Okay, I get it. And I'm assuming nothing more, I hope not, nothing more serious than just some light flirting, right?
Yeah, and I mean not for me and not anyone that I immediately know.
Okay.
Well, actually, it's kind of funny. I was hired as a ringer, which means I wasn't a part of this choir, but they needed extra people, so they were looking for like some people to fill out their soprano section. So I joined this choir, and this since it's a community choir, there's a wide range of people. And so there's this grandpa who he's very nice, but he immediately like really liked me. And so then I joined the choir, and so he always comes up to me and he's like, I know you mentioned this composer. I found I have a book by him. Like, let me give you this book. I'm like, oh, like, thank you. So, I mean, stuff like that. I wouldn't really say that it's creepy, but it definitely sometimes in the artistic profession, those lines can kind of be blurred a little bit, where it's like, oh, is she just nice or is she just being professional? Do you know what I mean? So you got to be careful. I think so.
Yeah.
And it's not just people who have like positions of power. It could also be like your colleague. So you got to be wary of that. Like just because you're playing love interest on stage does not mean that you can just like grab my hand whenever you want. Do you know what I mean? So it's just about keeping that like professionalism, and also if you are uncomfortable, like saying, "Hey, like I'm uncomfortable," in
Mm.
whatever regard, because we all have our own different boundaries. And also, being safe. CSUN hired a guest director for one of the operas, and we had a student who passed out, and also the music director passed out. And this stage director was not equipped to handle those situations. It was really bad. Um, and she made it like our fault that that happened, even though both of those people passing out was because of her kind of mismanagement and some underlying health things. So I can't completely blame her, but she like did not do a good job of handling those situations whatsoever. So be aware like of your boundaries, of if you've been rehearsing for hours and hours in a hot costume, like you need water, you know? So never feel like you are taking up too much space by asking for like basic things. You know what I mean? What's the point? What's the point of singing and performing if because of your costume your like back hurts? Like that's not fun. Of course, like beauty is pain. So a little bit of like mild hazing, mild flirting, mild like discomfort is okay, I think. Um, but it shouldn't make you uncomfortable or cause you like health problems. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
You
It
shouldn't, you shouldn't, you shouldn't sacrifice your like inner peace to make a director, like a colleague, more comfortable because why? They're not doing that for you, so you have to do that for you, you know?
yeah, makes sense. In less words, like just speak up.
Yeah, just speak up.
Okay, amazing. Um, one more thing, and it's a little bit silly, but what lifestyle do you have to give up when you pursue singing?
What lifestyle?
Give up.
I don't think you have to give anything up. I mean, the first thing when you said that, I would think like hopefully smoking and or drinking. But a lot of people that I know are singers and they vape and they smoke.
Mm,
So, peace and love to you. I I don't know how you do that. So I would think that, but since these people are doing it, maybe you don't have to give it up. Um, but I mean, I guess it depends on how successful you want to be, because if you want to be like the best of the best, you have to live in a practice room, and you might you might give up like your family to an extent unless they're very like understanding, like, okay, we'll see we'll see mom at our next birthday because today she's in France and she's performing at like the French opera over there, you know? So either you give that up or your family like travels with you and they have to be comfortable with that. So I guess that would be the other thing that comes to mind with giving up. But I'm a big believer that if you communicate and if your family and or partner is willing to kind of go on this journey with you, you can both be happy. And then of course if one of you isn't, then it's time to kind of reconsider. So
yeah. Well, who doesn't love traveling, by the way? But
true, true.
uh, I was also thinking about someone told me about food that you have to give certain type of food if you want to keep your throat healthy.
I mean, I think across the board, like you don't want to eat something that's too hot, either like spicy and or temperature or too cold, but that's across like everyone, you know? So, if you notice, again, it can be kind of specific to the person. So, like, I can drink milk and not have any kind of like mucus or phlegm, but you can drink milk and then you're very phlegmy. So then to you, I would say maybe don't do that unless you are really good at like flushing it out or you could sing without it. So I think it kind of depends on the person and how you're affected by certain foods.
Mhm.
Um, on a personal story, my music teacher in high school said don't drink caffeine because it like closes up your vocal cords and it will just make it harder to sing. But I'm a coffee addict. So I was chosen to sing the national anthem at my graduation. So I was like, okay, I guess I can't drink coffee today. So I sang and it was fine, but I went through caffeine withdrawal during my graduation. So I'm sitting there and I'm waiting for like 50 people, which I went to a small school. Luckily, otherwise, if 500 people were graduating, I think I would have died on that stage. But I went through caffeine withdrawal and I was like, I wonder if I drank the coffee, like, would it have impacted my voice that greatly? You know? Um, and as my voice muscles have gotten stronger and I've learned how to use my voice better, I've discovered that I don't have to really limit too much what I do. Like I know that Pavarotti would drink like ice water before going and singing because ice makes your vocal cords come together more tightly. So it'd be easier for him to sing because everything's kind of constricted. I do this because that's how the voice works. They're like kind of like a V, and they're
Mhm.
the size of a penny, and they go kind of like this over your throat if your throat goes like this. And so the air goes up through the vocal folds, and that's how they kind of come together. So if they're cold, they just go blink, and you can sing a little bit higher.
Mm.
But again, I might do that and that might work wonderfully for me, but you do that and it you like tense up and it's too much. So it's depends.
Okay, but you do have to be careful of what you're eating and everything to get to perform to your best of your abilities, right?
Yeah, to a certain extent. I mean, just be mindful. But I would never say like, oh, you have to limit this in order to do this. There are general like rules of thumb, but everyone's different. So just be aware of what works for you.
Um, One last thing before I let you go because I can see you're sleepy.
Rude. It's not it's not that for the audience, it's 2 in the morning. I'm cool and I totally don't go to bed at 7 p.m. sharp.
Okay. No. How does it affect um I think you touched upon it before that it affects your mental health when you keep getting rejected and rejected and rejected. And it's not as easy as to just say, get thick skin. Either you develop a big ego or something
Hmm.
else. I
Yeah.
usually go by like, if you're talented, there's no competition. If you're talented enough, there's no competition. But I don't think it's true anymore.
Well, I have a question to your question and then I'll answer. What made you change your mind?
There's the advice was given by an Uber driver, and he said he's one of the fastest guitarist of all time. But he was talented, and I know for sure. But the thing is that he got irrelevant fast. He was
Mm,
talented, but he was irrelevant, and maybe
okay,
not much connections either. So
sure.
his talent, there's no denying he was not talented, but I don't think that's the only thing you need at this point.
You actually answered my question kind of inadvertently. Um, because when you walk into an audition, you might have a rough idea of what they're looking for, but you have no idea what they're looking for. So, and my parents say a similar thing. They're like, well, if you're the absolute best, like the best of the best, you have the highest notes possible and the lowest notes, they'll pick you because you're the best. Um, and that might be true like 95% of the time, let's say. But you walk into the audition room and you don't know how many sopranos they want. What if they wanted a blonde soprano? What if they wanted a soprano that isn't 5'7", but they need a really tall soprano? So they're looking for a soprano who is 6 feet tall. So I might have done an amazing job, but they just don't need me because I'm unfortunately 5'7". Awkward. So you have no idea. And also there are some, I haven't necessarily experienced this, but you walk in and one of the judges might not like the dress that you're wearing. I'm not saying you specifically, you don't wear a dress, but like the outfit that you're wearing. Or they might not like the piece that you sang because they feel that they know your voice better than you, and you shouldn't be singing that piece. You should be singing this piece. Or on a personal note, I had a scholarship audition where I needed a letter of recommendation from my teacher. Um, and I sang, I thought I did a good job. Like I felt very solid in my audition. And then the next morning at 6 a.m., I get a rejection from them that they're not going to give me any money. And I met with the voice judge and she goes, I know your voice teacher and I don't think he's like good for you. So I can't support you on the path that you're on. so I'm not giving you money. And that was my reaction too, or like, what? Um, so she didn't say that I couldn't sing. She said that she doesn't like my teacher. So it had nothing to do with my performance. So you might encounter people who have their own opinion based off of like what they see in your resume. Or sometimes they might hold an audition, but they're not even looking for sopranos, but they can't just say that for whatever reason. So a bunch of people audition and they only needed like a bass.
Okay, so this brings a new question. Like, it is acting in some sort of way because you said they also look for your physical description.
Yeah, well, actually, one of the professors at CSUN said this, and I thought it was a good point. Um, if you want to listen to a pretty voice, you can just buy a recording, right?
Hmm.
That's not, you just listen. But if you're acting, the vocal technique could be a little worse, or your technique could be not as strong, or the piece might not fit you as well. But you're so engaging to watch that you're kind of forgiven in that regard. So if you're going to an actual show, you want to see what's going on, right? If, and like he said, if I want to hear a pretty voice, I'll just pull up like a record of my favorite singer and I'll listen to that. So acting is a big like knowing what you're singing and trying to connect, or like you said earlier, bring your personality in through the music. So it's not just like Susanna in The Marriage of Figaro. It's like you in this situation and your character happens to be called Susanna, you
Hmm.
know?
That
And
makes sense.
that and it's not just like, oh, well, you also have to take the notes that are in the libretto. So just because I think it should be done this way, but the composer wrote it this way, I have to follow what the composer is saying, you know? So, but you can still kind of have moments of your personality kind of like twinkling in there, you know,
Hmm.
to make it interesting.
Yes.
Um, no, not that I am aware. When I haven't gotten something, I assumed I wasn't vocally strong enough to like do the part instead of, oh, I don't look like it.
Hmm. And okay, yeah, one of the other question was that do you think the opera is a little bit fading away because it's old school?
No, a lot of people are like getting back into it, especially with the rise of AI. I feel like people are kind of going back to more not AI things. So, because I can't imagine what AI would do with opera. You know, they can't sing. It's just it's different, and I feel like opera is appreciated because it takes such a long time to own your craft and really like develop. So I don't know. I think more people are appreciating it, and opera companies are adapting. So it's not just opera; it's musicals as well, for example.
Hmm.
So and like Pacific Opera Project a few years ago, they did the Magic Flute by Mozart, but they called it Super Flute because it was a spin of Super Mario. So all of the Magic Flute characters were now like Mario characters, and it actually worked pretty well. As it was, from what I saw, it made sense.
Okay, so they're adapting and they're catering to a younger crowd too. So that's
Yeah,
why it's not dying.
yeah.
Oh, that's
It's
really good to know.
it's I would say it's on life support. It could be better funded and more people could be interested, but I wouldn't say that it's dying. I think that it will slowly become more popular as AI gets more intense.
Okay, and do you see any younger people? Because I see it as like old-fashioned, high-class people going there.
Going to the opera?
Yeah.
Um, I mean, a lot of music students go to the opera. A lot of kids get dragged by their wealthy parents to go to the opera. So I think it tends to be an older crowd, but um I wouldn't say that it's just for old people.
And I cannot believe you're lying, but you are rich. Or at least your parents are.
Okay, I'm not poor, but I wouldn't say like I'm not like a millionaire by any means.
This is the Pinocchio's nose just growing out of you.
Well,
You're lying.
you have the Northern Lights, so as you did that, your figure disappeared. So
Okay.
who looks silly now?
Yeah, sure. You're
Sure.
lying.
I promise you I'm not.
Okay, fine. I was about to borrow like $200, but yeah, sure.
I'll give you the 20.
Ah,
Not the 200 though. You said
okay.
20 first. So
20,000.
20 oh, okay. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
20,000. We spent this whole episode talking about how you can't make money and you're asking $20,000.
Yeah.
Come on.
I don't know. It's before I knew. No, no, I knew already you would lived in Santa Barbara, but yeah, amazing. It was great talking to you. I hope I
Great
would
talking
see
to
you
you too.
soon,
Sounds
and
good.
I'll keep me I hope we keep in touch in future and have a good night. And it
Yeah, me
was
too.
amazing conversation. Okay?
Yes, I agree.
Okay.
Okay,
Have a good one. Bye. Good
you
night.
too. Bye. Good night.
Please, 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 I'm begging you. Please. I'm desperate. I don't know what to do. Please subscribe. Like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe for more content.